This tweet lives rent-free in my head. Most of the retake. Let's go. This tweet by Jay Versace. He says, "Do I protect my energy and avoid people who aggravate me, or do I learn how to not let people aggravate me?" Hi, this is Aisha, and let's thrive beyond abuse, narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, family trauma, and let's shift your precious energy and attention back on yourself. So let's really talk about it. Do you protect your trigger by avoiding your triggers? Or do you overcome your triggers so that they no longer trigger you? Alright, let's get into the pros of avoiding your triggers or avoiding people who trigger you. The first pro, this would be an essential... How about we all just go? Because I can't speak clearly. That's going to be my new thing because I can't speak apparently sometimes. But the first, bear with me. I feel like this is the part that people who film videos don't want you to see, but I'm gonna show it because I literally can't speak sometimes. What is going on? Alright, so for early healing, I think that avoiding the people who aggravate or trigger you is essential because it can protect and give you the space necessary for your nervous system to feel safe and to not constantly be re-exposed to your triggers or to the abuse. Avoiding your triggers initially can prevent that re-triggering, and they say you can't heal in the same environment that hurt you. So I think fresh out of an abusive relationship or traumatic or narcissistic family or friends or whatever that you experience with toxic people, I think avoiding them at first is the best method, or the best is the best method to do, because your body and your nervous system needs that space. It needs that space to just settle down so that you can truly begin to feel your emotions. But this is where it gets dangerous because a lot of people can get stuck in that, I'm just going to avoid them. And that limits you from being able to do the Avoiding your triggers also teaches your body and your nervous system self-respect, because you give yourself, you just say, fuck that, oh shit. You just say, F that. You basically tell yourself that you matter, you deserve that space, you deserve that distance from your triggers, from the people who are toxic, so that you can remind yourself that you matter and that your feelings and your trauma and your healing and everything. Oh, gym and juice, the vibes. But you tell yourself that you matter, basically. Anyways, moving forward, the last pro of avoiding the people who trigger you is that it gives you distance to be able to hear your own voice again. When you experience like narc abuse or just people that are in your life that maybe be intimidated by you, or maybe just have their own traumas and their own limiting beliefs and their own unhealed nature, that they just can't be a good person to you. They can't treat you right, And so it's like I've experienced just hearing their voice, not their voice, but things they would say to me in my head, and I'm like, yeah, I'm this, I'm that, like, but then I know deep down that's not me, that's not really me. And like, so that distance initially from avoiding the people who trigger you will really allow you to start to hear your own voice again and clear out all the chaos. Basically, what I was trying to get at before was that if you avoid without pairing that with actually doing the deep internal healing, you will just become an avoidant. Like, you'll just delay your deeper healing and your evolution. So that triggering setting that you face today will be even more triggering tomorrow and more triggering the next day, and produce so much more anxiety because you don't know how to deal with those triggers, because all you've learned is to avoid them. So this is the main con with just avoiding your problems. Let's show back. But it's a good thing temporarily, though, because the cons of avoiding the narcs is that if it's not, it can become very avoidant. Let's explain. I mean, let me explain this. Let me show you. I have so much to say that I'm like, I can't speak. Let's. Okay. What? You can also risk being over isolated. Your protecting your energy can turn into a fear of actual people and connecting. And that's triggering to me as well because I've seen a lot of narcissistic people, toxic people talk about, I'm protecting my peace, protecting my energy. Whole time, they are just treating people like shit and then distancing themselves from them because they don't like the reaction. They don't want to be, they don't want the response of how they treat other people. So it's like also kind of a red flag if you're just like, I'm protecting my peace and you just avoid. Because you can also turn into you can turn into these toxic people by hurting people and then not sitting around to actually feel the consequences of when you hurt somebody, how they're going to be upset, like, and emotional unavailability. And kind of to tag on to that, the last thing now is that it stops giving manipulators access to you. So when you avoid them, you're like, nope, no contact, no fuel, no energy from you anymore. That's a good thing. And the most important con to avoiding toxic people or just your triggers, avoiding your triggers is that it will never teach you how to actually navigate those situations. You are not going to be able to avoid conflict with family, friends, coworkers, relationships, etc. Those are going to be, any type of a relationship with another human is going to, you know, like, force you to work on yourself in a certain way, to be a better person, to confront different aspects of yourself that you might have not, that won't come out if you're individual. Next, it lets you engage with them without absorbing their negativity. And this, for me, I think is really important because one fear that I have is becoming like them, subconsciously, being hurt so much or just being like gaslighted and abused so much that I become like them by accident. And I think that if you do this work, if you truly work through this and face yourself, then you won't become like them. God forbid. This leads into you feeling put back into control over your emotions, your triggers, your reactions, because you no longer feel like a victim to external or other people's chaos. The second part of this tweet is, do I learn how to not let people aggravate me? Let's talk about the pros and cons of this one, and I honestly think this is the way to go. So the first pro of this is that you build inner strength, true inner strength, that no one can take away from you, and it grounds you and it makes you harder to manipulate. And working through your triggers leads to long-term empowerment because you will now respond. You will now respond and not react to them. What it also does is it puts you back in control over your emotions, over your reactions. It releases you from being the victim to external chaos or moods or just tantrums that toxic people want to throw for validation, etc. And the next thing is that it also stops you from absorbing their energy when engaging with them. This is especially when you're in like powerful family narc situations where a lot of people are toxic and people enable that toxicness and no one stands up to the bad guy. And so when you stand up to it, they just make it seem like you're the one that's the problem. And I think that once you truly do the work and evolve yourself and heal through the triggers and not just learning about the tactics that they use, not just learning about what gaslighting is or manipulation is, because it's all over the internet now. All we learn about is just these tactics and how to spot them. But how do we actually put it into practice? How do we actually move through that? It's through knowing what it is and then not allowing it to affect us in those moments, to overcome our own nervous system, fight or flight, and anxiety, and our own inner child feeling unsafe and everything, and these are a lot of buzzwords that I'm using, which is kind of annoying sometimes, so sorry, but it's just so real once you actually put it into practice. And you can only truly learn to, not allow these triggers to affect you by letting yourself experience it, by not avoiding and being so scary by the triggers, because only then is how you work through it. Only then is how you recognize, oh, my body is reacting. Oh, my mind is reacting. Oh, I'm shutting down. How am I going to move through this? And slowly you teach yourself how to react in a different way. Slowly you teach yourself, okay, I'm safe. I still have my own autonomy. Just because they are all spewing bullshit doesn't mean that I can internalize it. It gives you the power and strength to go anywhere, and anyone can trigger you, or anyone can, exhibit these toxic traits, but you stand strong in your own knowing, first of, the tactics or whatever that they do, the chaos that they exhibit, but then also how your presence and your response to that. That was kind of vague, but I can go deeper in another video on how I actually do this in real time, because I still get freaking triggered and emotionally abused by toxic people, and I'm in the point in my life where I just have to kind of, not deal with it, but learn to deal with and regulate my own emotions instead of crashing out. So, also, I dyed my hair. It's like purple maroon. Now that I've talked about this long-winded explanation of the pros and cons of this tweet, which one would you do? Slide up and let me know.